Welcome to the Nick Taylor Horror Show. Sonny Laguna is a Sweden-based director who began directing a number of very low-budget films costing between $5,000 and $10,000 with his co-director Tommy Wiklund. He eventually got on the radar of S. Craig Zahler, the director of Bone Tomahawk and Brawl in Cell Block 99, who was at the time writing Puppetmaster, The Littlest Reich. Zahler and the team at FANGORIA were so impressed with Sonny and Tommy's resourcefulness as low-budget filmmakers that they handed them directorial duties on Puppetmaster, The Littlest Reich. We spoke to Sonny about his career history, his first few films, Puppetmaster, which I particularly loved, and his advice for aspiring horror filmmakers. All of this and so much more on this week's episode of the Nick Taylor Horror Show. Now, without further ado, here's Sonny Laguna, director of Puppetmaster, The Littlest Reich. Yeah, would love to talk about your overall early career. I know that you and Tommy started with really low-budget movies. And then, from what I understand, how Puppetmaster came about was Craig Zahler saw some of your early movies, and then put you in touch with Fangoria and Cinestate and Dallas, and then now we have Puppetmaster. But would love to go back to the original movies that you guys had worked on.
Absolutely.
And could you talk about how those came about and how you were able to fund them and how you were able to get them out?
Okay, yeah, sure. So me, Tommy, and another guy, David, were like a trio of filmmakers from a very small town outside of Stockholm. And I think, it's that classic tale of starting to make short films on VHS at the age of 15. And at the time, I don't think we knew that we wanted to do this for real. It was just a matter of, let's be creative, let's do some fun things together. And then that start to spread with the digital means of all the tools available, and everything became cheaper and cheaper year after year. And by the time we were like 23, 24, we felt like, okay, we really need to do something. We really need to do a feature film, and we had given it some early attempts when we were like 20. So we're talking around 2004. But all those attempts really sucked. I mean, they were horrible. And they never went anywhere. So there was a lot of trial and error. But by the time, I think it was in 2008, we said like, okay, what can we do that we can do on basically no budget? And we came up with this idea that ended up being Madness, our first real feature film. And we said like, okay, Tommy and David can play the villains, and another one of our childhood friends, where they can play the parts for free. And we basically just scraped together what we had. So we had like $10,000. To shoot it. And we didn't have much else to do in our spare time, so we could just bomb away night after night, weekend after weekend. So in less than a year, I think we completed the film. And I think what makes us a little bit special is that we're very lucky to have a three-part team where we are all very different. So me, I'm the digital effects guy. I love to make, early on, I love to make 3D effects and composition in After Effects and, just reading up online tutorials. But Tom and David were more, props focused, wanted to do things on camera. And we started to think like, okay, how can we put these together? So we were really bad. I think we were really bad storytellers, but we were very good at putting together scene by scene, sort of.
Right.
So that's when that came to be. And after Madness, we felt like, okay, we sold it to 3 countries, the US, France, and Germany, pretty quickly.
Oh wow!
So through our French connection, I think we just found him online. So
wow.
Yeah.
He was a French connection?
Yeah, he was a sales agent from French, David Shaliva.
All right. Okay.
So when we first got it sold to the US actually, and got our money back and then some. From that point on, we were like, we became really hungry to like, okay, maybe this can actually work out. We can just work with this full time.
Where did your sales agent distribute the movie? Because when this must have been like 2000.
It was 2009,
7 or 8.
Yeah, it was 2009 where he brought the movie to Cannes, the film market there, and I think after 1 or 2 months, what's the name of the company? Well Go USA, I think, was a distributor in the US, and they bought it. So it was like, okay, what do we do now? Like we didn't even know how to deliver a movie, and they were complaining, back and forth, like, what is this file size? What's the problem with this codec? They probably thought they were buying a film from like a real studio, but it was just 3 losers in a basement. So that was that, and then we just continued to bring them out. Blood Runs Cold being our second film with like $5,000 US dollars in budget. So we never even attempted to get a financial backing elsewhere. We just thought like, okay, we can do this on our own.
And that got you hungry to start just trying to make more films and sell more films and like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
So, but to wrap that part of the story up, by the time we've done our third film, we did one in our own native language, Swedish. We actually had it in a small theater around here, but overall we sold it to a lot of countries, but we never came over that gap of like, oh, okay, now we have a couple of million, so we can, I'm talking Swedish currency. Like, let's say we had made back $500,000 US dollars, then we really could, get a ball rolling, continue to do what we do. But we felt like, okay, we don't earn enough to just work with this. So it was kind of a hard time, but then we were very lucky to have a fan in Craig Zahler that asked Dallas to bring us on board. So
very cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you made a feature film for $5,000 and was able to sell it. So what are the keys to? Because those movies don't look that low budget at all. What are the keys to making a low budget movie look way more expensive than it really is?
I think you just have to. I mean, today you can obviously never compete with a film shot on red, these expensive red cameras, or multi-million-dollar project where they use great tools for lighting, all that stuff. So you have to come up with your own style first of all, and just look at all the tools available, because you can do so much in post these days. It's a classic notion of like, let's just fix it in post, but you really can fix a lot of things in post. And I think just develop keen eye for design, an overall look of a film. I mean, if you look at a YouTube video, a skateboarding video or whatever, it's not supposed to look like film. It's it's just real life things that are happening on screen. But if you look at a Hollywood production, or your favorite scary movie, you look at that and think like, why does this look so much different? Why does this look like almost like a dream state? But you just have to pick it apart and think like, okay, why did you use this color? All of that stuff, and just trial and error. So I think you can get away with a very cheap budget if you're willing to put in the hours.
It sounds like it's a matter of embracing the aesthetic. If you shoot a low budget movie and it might not be the best camera,
Yeah.
but it has a certain aesthetic, embracing that aesthetic and using it kind of to your advantage, it sounds like that really is helpful.
Exactly. Because you can never your film will never look like the Avengers. It will never look like that because everything is CGI in those movies.
Right.
They have a certain look, but then you look at like The Dark Knight, for example. It looks completely different than the Avengers. But for the average consumer, you would think like, I don't know, there's no difference between them. It's just people are running around on screen. But if you look close enough, you can see a ton of differences. So
yeah, I think it's because Nolan shoots on film.
yeah,
I think he shoots on film.
He shoots on film, yes. So
yeah, that's what I thought, and you can always tell the difference. Plus, he's building real sets.
Yeah, and he tries to shoot, on location. He tries to shoot on real sets, and I think he uses, his custom-made color grading techniques. Not that he's color grading it, but he's working closely with all these elements. I think I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the same team he's working with, works on every movie he makes. So it's again like finding your own style and just try to maximize that. We've actually tried to change up our styles throughout the years, but we always come back to a certain type of editing and color grade, and just that's who we are. I don't think that's gonna
to have a consistency.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's
like a signature.
Exactly. So I think it's better to polish what you have, and better than that than to just try to achieve something that's just not in you.
Yeah, I've seen that with a lot of. No, I've seen that with a lot of low budget, particularly horror movies. They're fighting against their budget so much, and they're trying to overly maximize production value.
Yeah. And
that you can just tell that they're trying so hard with the way that some of the sets look, and it just comes across as awkward. Whereas if they just embrace, like, okay, it's low budget, we have to strip certain things out, we need to make it look a certain way, but just embrace that lo-fi look of a movie, I think that can work to your advantage versus trying to fight the fact that your budget is so low. I mean, yeah, you do have to maximize budgets, as much as possible, but there's a real fine line, and I see it with some low budget horror movies, and they're just, you can't take them seriously because they're fighting against their own budget so much.
Absolutely. And I think, there's a lot of great color grades out there, but if all the other elements are off, or, if it just doesn't come together, it will feel like, okay, like you said, it feels like you just slapped on a few filters, and it will feel like plastic, or I don't know. I can't find a good word for it. But,
yeah, no, I know what you mean though. It just looks these movies just look fake.
Yeah. And I mean, we discussed it 1,000 times. Tommy, me, and David just go back and forth every day on text if we can't see each other these days, and we often talk about what works and what not, and the weird thing is, if you have a great story, it's the most cliche thing to say, but if your story is not interesting, if you don't like your characters, it's not going to matter. We've seen some gigantic blockbuster movies with $200 million budget just isn't that particularly fun to watch. And if you compare them side to side, let's say Avengers Infinity War, just take that impossible to make movie. We have like 40 characters coming together, and you have to like them all. You have to like every story beat, and then you take a film that doesn't work and you compare them side by side, and you can't I can't dissect it. I mean, it will take weeks to just discuss why this doesn't work, and it all comes down to the story in the end, and how they build their characters, which is super hard to do. But you can have all the CG or practical effects in the world, but if it's not fun to watch, it's just a waste of your time. So I think it's sometimes that challenge can feel, too big to even try. But at the same time, it really says something that low budget horror can also be really fun and worth a watch. You don't have to always look at the budget. So I guess that's good for us, sorry asses.
Yeah, I feel like horror is particularly good for low budget because you can get away with so much. But I remember reading that you had said that if you're doing something low budget, one of the most important parts is to have good actors.
Yeah.
If you have a really, really low budget, how are you able to get really good actors involved? Because obviously the talent fee can eat up a budget, and there's a lot of cases where directors will have deals with actors where they will be able to get them interested in a movie without having to pay their normal fee, but they get something out of it because they're showcased. I mean, how have you been able to attract such quality actors to your more low-budget movies?
Let's say for our third film, Wither, we talked to a few that were well known in Sweden, and we said, like, this is what we have, this is what we can pay you, but what we do different is you will have, you know, a great time on set, and you will be able to have a lot of, you know, saying in your character. So that's what you're fishing with. So I mean, if I go in and say, like, hey, I'm the director of this, you gotta listen to me, blah blah blah, then you're gonna, you know, they're never gonna like you. I think that's, it comes with so much. You have to become a friend with them, basically. They have to, and that's always been our goal. With, you know, if you can't pay the actor, if they don't go home and say, hey, these guys were great to work with, I can really recommend them, we have failed on our part, you can just feel down when you think about that, because you understand that, okay, I'm never gonna get that thing I want from this because I have to work around all these elements. And if you can't find particularly good actors, let's say that scenario, I think you have to think about that into the story. Like you said, if you're shooting with a low budget camera, you shouldn't think like, this guy who's never been on camera before is going to act like Robert Downey Jr. because he can't. So maybe he can be, you know, a mute. I don't know. Maybe he can wear a helmet the whole damn movie. I don't know. Just work around that. You know, everything has to be a workaround. And you have to be creative. Yeah. Again, the viewer's not going to think like, what's wrong with this guy, if they like the story overall. So,
right.
So it's another workaround.
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So let's talk about Mystery Box. You are. It looks like you're premiering it on YouTube exclusively. What made you want to go with YouTube?
I don't know, laziness maybe. But it's just a short story. So after Puppetmaster, we had been, you know, when we were done with that after like 9 months of work on that, I had been on parents' leave for a while. We felt like, okay, we need to do something. We can't just sit around for, you know, 6 to 8 months doing nothing. So we prepared this little short. So we shot it in May last year. And it was Tommy and David that came up with a story about a box, and you know, that a woman finds, and it's a simple concept. A woman finds you know, a box in her fishing net, and she's like, "What is this junk? I have to take it with me because, you know, it's rusty metal. It shouldn't be in the water." But then, you know, later same night, someone knocks on the door, and she finds the metal box outside her cabin where she stays, and she can't get rid of it. So, and I won't spoil what happens because it's like 10 minutes long, but it's a simple concept, and we just wanted to, again, she's a talented, great actress, Lisa Henny. She's been in a number of things here in Sweden, but that was one of those things like, okay, we had a new camera, we had you know, we found a great location almost for free, all that stuff. So we shot the film for around $2,000, and yes, so we had a really fun week. We just wanted to come off the stressful time that was Puppetmaster and just shoot something very slowly, just very much on our own terms. So we edited it in like 2 months, and then we just sent it out to a lot of festivals. So it had its so-called world premiere on Nightmares Film Festival, I think it was called. Okay. So after that, we felt like, okay, let's you know, just show it to everyone in April. So that's one of those projects we want to hopefully expand on in the future. So I really want to, you know, everyone to go watch it on YouTube. I mean, it's free, it's 10 minutes. if you're a horror fan, you should at least get some entertainment out of it. So
yeah, definitely, and I'll definitely make sure the link is available to everybody.
yeah, awesome, fantastic,
cool. So as an established feature director, you're still returning to shorts, which is, I think it's, some people do and some people don't. And it seems like shorts are a great way to kind of keep, it sounds like in some cases it's a great way to just kind of keep your directorial energy going, like between projects. Hey, we're directors, we can't really turn it off, but we don't necessarily want to do a feature right now, so let's do a short. It seems like a good way to just kind of stay sharp, but also a good way to test out concepts for movies on a smaller scale. But are shorts something that you recommend directors constantly keep doing? Is it a good way to just kind of maintain your directorial sensibility?
Yeah, absolutely. I once had a guy who was what's it called? It was just a background guy, and he contacted me afterwards. And he was like, "Please read my script for something, for a scene or whatever." And I was like, "Sure, absolutely." And I read it, and it was horrible. And I said to him, like an advice, like, write a short story every week for a year. Just write it, because you will see, like, the first story you write and the 52-52nd story you write, it's going to be vastly different. Just try to, so I think we've done a lot of, super crappy shorts in our days. I think we started out, doing one horror short every weekend for years when we were like 15 years old.
Wow.
So, but it was total crap. You just shot it and it was done in the camera. And then a few years later, I think you have to work your way up, through your, a knowledge ladder, so to speak. So I think some young filmmakers make the mistake of, doing, it's too ambitious from the start. Like, okay, we're going to have a green screen. Our first attempt at shooting something, just a green screen. We're going to have 15 actors. And they quickly become this, producer role instead of being creative all the time. So I really recommend, just bombing away a couple of minute shorts, just trying out, everything. Because there's so much. Once you learn something in film, you always have it with you for the rest of your life. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be crap every time. So it's, it's a weird thing. Shoot films.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, I feel like that's great advice, though, to write a story every single week, and then it forces you to kind of hone your storytelling skills. And like you said, particularly with low budget in horror filmmaking, if the story's not good, the whole thing just goes completely and totally to hell. So I'm going to remember that, man. I'm going to start writing stories.
Absolutely. It can be. There's a lot of. I think I've found some old, scripts on our old computers over the years. Like, oh, did we write this? And I found a short story concept that we were very close to shoot, but I don't know what happened to it. But it's like, okay, who cares? It felt like a waste of time when you look back at it, like, oh, we didn't do anything with this. But every day is a wasted day, basically. We have so much time where we just go out to have a drink or whatever, watch a movie, goof around. Like I watched a lot of inspirational videos over the years, just thinking about like, what do I want to do with my time? So to be creative for me, that's the best thing I can do. So you have to remember. If you're just being creative to be better at something and it doesn't feel rewarding, then maybe you should do something else. But to us, the struggle has always been more satisfying than the hurdles to overcome. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So what is it like having a director partner? You guys obviously have been collaborators for a long time. What are the keys to having a successful collaboration with another director?
Fight all the time and hate on each other every day. No. I think it's a hard thing to think about. I've known Tommy since I was 5 years old. So I've been extremely lucky to have, a friend over the years, just supporting each other. And I think especially Tom and me, we're very, we think so much. What's the gap there? We're not different from each other. The other way around. So
similar.
So we're very similar to each other. When you think about like what kind of scenes we like, what kind of styles we like. When I ask him like, okay, did you like this movie? His answer will be my future answer if I haven't seen it yet. I've never come up with it. Yeah, that's weird. It's like a brother. But his style of directing is more. I often jokingly says that he's like a George Lucas. Like he says, like it's in the script. The actors doesn't need direction. It's in the script. It's right there. And I'm more. So we kind of developed a style over the years where he tries to direct the action or get the timing down, or he in the start when we shot our first film, we just bounced the camera back and forth like, let me film this shot. But obviously that doesn't lead to any consistent framework or how you frame things.
Right.
So after a while we just let Tommy do all the shooting. I just shoot a couple of shots for fun, just to know I can still do it. So I often talk to the actors before a scene, like, okay, this is how we feel, this is what's going to be like, and then I just watch from afar. While Tommy is more close up, he looks through lens, and he sometimes doesn't see what the actors are doing, but more of like how is the speed of things, like this is going to flow good. And I just look at their expression. So it's kind of like we divide it up like that. But in the end, especially if it's a dialogue scene or whatever, you can just look at it and like I can say like, okay, can we do this better? I'm kind of lost right now. I can't see what's wrong or what's good. And then he can step in like, no, I think this and this, and just a background analysis. So I think it works really well. I think you can feel very much left out or feel alone as a director, and it feels like every decision you're making is just one step further to a catastrophe. Sometimes it feels like if you're not working with a really, really talented actor, which we did, on Puppetmaster, fortunately. So.
But having another director helps you shoulder that burden with somebody else, and it probably makes it a little bit less intimidating because you have two minds on something.
Exactly.
That sounds super smart that you both do completely different things while you're on set, so you're not it necessarily overlapping. It sounds like that's where conflict starts.
Exactly.
Whereas like it's very complementary if you're both doing different things.
Exactly. So I'm more of a bystander in that regard, and especially when we're shooting our own stuff, like Tommy often jumps in on David's work, like it can be special effects or okay, we need to solve this and this, or hide a tube, and then they ask me like, can you make this go away in post? So it's that jumping back and forth all the time.
Yeah, very cool. So when it comes to filmmaking and directing and storytelling and writing, there's so many resources out there. There's so many books and courses and how-to guides. A lot of it is bullshit because it's written by people who've never done it.
Yeah.
But for you in your career, have there been any resources or books that have been particularly helpful for you, either as a director, a writer, an artist? Anything that's been notably helpful for your career?
I've always watched the site videocopilot.net. There's this guy called Andrew Kramer who is narrating. They're free to watch tutorials online. They have a lot of they've developed a lot of plugins. Some are free, some cost some money, but they're pretty cheap.
I've used them before.
Yeah, and when he talks about effects, he's just a very talented person that embraces not just the effect from one angle. Like like you said, if they say like do exactly like this tutorial, do exactly these steps to achieve this type of effect, it often doesn't work because your shot will work differently, or lighting is off, or there's always some problem like, okay, I can't follow this anymore, this tutorial is useless to me now.
Right.
But Video Copilot guys, they've always tried to make it fun and try to talk around the effects, like why do we do this, why is this plugin helpful, and how can we achieve this look by 5 different techniques. So you get the idea, and you start to develop your own. I mean, they're obviously a lot smarter than me when it comes to that, those solutions, but it helps you understand, because if you think of, let's say, effects, they all have the same base work. Like you're making something, you want to make something disappear or appear in frame. That's the only thing you're doing, basically. So once you get, that thinking starting, you start to understand like, okay, this effect is done this because of this. You can start to, put the pieces together. Instead of telling you, it gives you a framework. Exactly. I mean, sometimes for Wither, there was an effect where, the eyeballs are like turning upside down, like disappearing inside her head. It's just a Video Copilot copy paste, basically. Where it worked extremely well. They're, I mean, free to watch online, great personalities. I know Andrew Kramer has worked on Star Wars Episode 7 and Star Trek and stuff like that. So he's cool. Fantastic. So and then there's a lot of free, YouTube these days. You can just Google and try to be better at searching, like see very fast, like, okay, this tutorial isn't for me, like just skip ahead, like but it's I think filmmakers need to understand that they have to put in the hours. They can't. I think when we're at our peak, I think I put in 4 or 5 hours a day, every day. So all year long, I never had a day off. Like just work. But so you have to get back to that. Like, okay, is this fun? Is this fulfilling to me? If it's not, then it's becoming a burden, and you start to think about like, why am I not making any money? All that kind of stuff. So, right. Great. Is there anything new that you and Tommy are working on right now? I was reading about what is it called again? Hang on, I have a note. It's not Evil Dead. It's Haunted Evil Dead. Yeah, and that's actually the Indian release of Wither. Oh wow! So I thought it was Wither because it looked like I read both. Yeah, it looked like it was the exact same plot. Okay, exactly. It's their own. It's their own version of the title. So we had no control over it. But it's fun to release it all over the place. I mean, we're not going to see $1 from that, but it's it was just fun to try out one time. Yeah. Thanks a lot. This was a lot of fun. Any parting advice for aspiring filmmakers who want to do what you do? I think you just first of all, most important thing is to have fun, and most important thing is to find people to share that fun with, so you don't feel alone, and you don't sit around in your basement. And then, like I said earlier, start small. So fun, share that with someone, and start small. It might feel like useless at first, or you're not getting anywhere, but like I said, shoot one short a week, no matter how bad it is, and start to develop your own style and your own ideas. But it's going to be a lot of work, and if you think like, oh my god, 5 years is such a long time to develop those skills, then maybe you should go to school instead, or something. But I think, there's so many people out there with amazing ideas. So, but I think the classic thing is they don't want to fail. But if you don't try, you will already fail. So you have to try
Yeah. Great. Sounds great, man. Thank you again. And really, really great meeting you. I'm a big fan and really looking forward to seeing what you guys do next.
Yeah, I'm super, appreciated.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, man. Thanks again. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
All right. So lots of big insights from Sonny. So as always, I'm going to dive into my key takeaways for aspiring horror filmmakers from my conversation with Sonny Laguna. Number one, embrace your limitations. Sonny's first few films were extremely low budget, between $5,000 and $10,000. And they had a stripped down and gritty lo-fi look to them, which really worked in their favor because it gave the movies a signature style and energy. So while it's important to maximize your production value, it's also important not to constantly fight your film's budget. We've all seen those low budget movies that pretend to be high budget movies, and the result is a movie that's campy and disjointed and just kind of pathetic looking. It's better to polish what you have in front of you than to work in vain to maximize a production value that you simply do not have. The lo-fi look works particularly well for horror because it feels more realistic. The best example of this is in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Number two, write a short story every week. This is a piece of advice that Sonny gives frequently to directors and screenwriters who want to sharpen their ability to tell stories. Bad scripts are often caused by a lack of storytelling ability, so writing a story every week is a way to get bad story ideas out of your system while sharpening your storytelling skills. So start writing. Number three, start small. A lot of filmmakers have big, elaborate script ideas and complicated storylines, which can be damn near impossible to make, especially when it's your first movie. While it's important to dream big, oversized and overly complicated projects can inhibit creativity because they overwhelm the director. In the beginning, the most important thing is getting a project wrapped and under your belt. Sonny recommends making films with what you have immediate access to. Robert Rodriguez and Kevin Smith did exactly this with their first films. So start small and gradually work your way upwards towards bigger projects. Number four, find a complementary director. Sonny and Tommy both have similar sensibilities, but different skill sets and different areas of focus. This is what makes them such a great director team. Sonny typically works with the actors, while Tommy focuses on the technical aspects of directing. This is the key to their successful partnership, having a simpatico sensibility, but different areas of focus. This enables you to maximize the efficiency of your collaboration while preventing conflicts. Anyway, guys, thank you again for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you could share it with your friends and family on social media. You can follow the show on Twitter and on Instagram at I'm Nick Taylor. That's I am Nick Taylor. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Thanks again for listening to the Nick Taylor Horror Show. We scare because we care.